it's your favorite host, Miss Biscuit. And if you like the questions that I ask on my show, head over to www.shycitychat.com to purchase my 21 questions conversation starter. Drinking and calling random people makes every game night lit. Also, don't forget to head over to Swoga for your detox and fitness regimen daily. And don't forget, Classy Cosmetics. I trust Danny with my lips.
Hey, you guys. Yes, it's me, Miss Biscuit. Okay, so you guys know that I am a one-woman show. So please give me like about 2 seconds to tag everyone in and make sure that everyone is aware that I am live. Okay, thank you so much for being patient with me. Yes, everyone knows now that I am live and we are ready. Okay, so they always say that we need counseling. So if that's what they say, let's hear why we need counseling. I have a beautiful array of panelists that are knowledgeable about what they bring to the table when it comes to our mental health. So with that being said, I would like to introduce my beautiful panel. All right. So we have Mr. T. Dawson, we have Mrs. Aya Brandy, and we have the lovely couple, Mr. Addison and Miss Adrian. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and jump in because it's only an hour-long show, and they have so much information to give us. Remember, you guys, if you have any questions for my guests, please make sure you put them in the comments. Once we're done, if we have time, we'll go through some of them and make sure that your answers get your questions get answered. Sorry, tongue tied. All right. So first we're gonna let me take everyone off. Okay, so ladies are first. So I wanted to bring on Miss Aya Brandy. Miss Aya Brandy. Well, you know what? I'm not gonna even ruin anything about her introduction because when I first met her, she was just so awesome. I messaged her and made sure that I was getting my point across clearly on what I was looking for on my show. And she immediately texted me back and made sure that I was comfortable with asking her any questions whatsoever. And I am pleased to have Miss Aya Brandy on my show.
Hi, everybody. I'm so glad to be here. I'm just going to give a quick introduction. I love when people love mental health. Let me just say that, right? Because we stigmatize it. But I love it. And so to know that Miss Biscuit was doing a whole show, y'all, that's lit. So with that being said, my name is Aya Brandy. I'm a psychotherapist. I know y'all hear the word psycho, you think crazy. Well, no, psychotherapist is the study of therapy, just for your information, right? So I'm a psychotherapist. I'm a counselor. If you like that word better, therapist, counselor in Georgia. I'm also a coach. So if you are struggling with different issues, such as like, transitional, where you are, like dealing with transitional things, stress, those type of things, mental fatigue, I can help you anywhere. But if you're looking for therapy, dealing with mood disorders or ADHD or, family struggles, I can help you only in Georgia for therapy issues, right? And I also help people find a Black therapist. Yeah, I know. We struggle with that, right? We need that. So if you're looking for that, check out My Therapist is Black. Real simple. We don't apologize. MyTherapistIsBlack.com. And you can either send me a message in there, or you can look for a therapist yourself, or you can put a request in and we help you find a therapist. So that's a little bit about me.
I'm sorry, I didn't want the interference, so I muted myself. But yes, that site that she gave you, that is a very informational page. I went on, and a lot of people want to help you. I had a lot of people that wanted to be on my show, and they're still going to come on my show. It's just that they didn't have the time when my time was permitted. And it was a little bit last minute. So with that being said, Miss Aya, I'm going to go ahead and jump in with your first question. Is that okay?
I'm ready.
Okay. So first, what are the different breakdowns in specialties, and what do the letters mean when you see it behind someone's name?
Ooh, these letters, they could be, it's a lot, right? Like, so if you look on the screen, you probably see like EDS, you see LAPC. So we all have different letters. So I'm going to start at the highest level, and I'm going to try to make this as concise so you don't get bored and fall asleep. Okay. So not in order of importance. I want to say that. Psychiatrists, those are your medical doctors that treat people with serious mental disorders, illnesses, right? That's your schizophrenia, that's your bipolar. Those are your people who need to take medication, right? So your psychiatrists are brain doctors essentially, and they treat people on that level. They don't often counsel people, but they do med management, they do they check your blood levels, those type of things. So that's your psychiatrist, right? They will have an MD, so it's DR and MD. You have your nurse practitioner, your physician assistant who work within the mental health space. They also prescribe medication and do med management. They don't do any type of counseling, mental health related. NP, nurse practitioner, PAs, physician assistant, right? Then you have your psychologist or psychoanalyst, right? They also see people. Unless they're clinical, I could be mistaken, and one of my panelists could correct me later, but unless they are clinical, I don't believe they can prescribe medication, right? You have the clinical psychologist. They're also PSYD, PSYD, or PhD. So they are not medical doctors, but they're doctors of the mind as well. And they do counseling like on a higher level as well. Some of them do testing. So like, let's say you want to know if your child have ADHD or if you have adult autism, your psychologist will do that testing. Your clinical psychologist do that testing as well as see people, right? And I know most people are like, oh my God, I didn't know that. That's what they do, and they also do counseling. And then when you come down, you have the next level, which is where the majority of us fit. So funny thing to know, there are only 4% of all therapists, counselors, psychologists, psychiatrists that are Black. 4%. Keep that in mind when you're looking for one of us and you're like, oh, you don't accept my insurance, I'm going to go somewhere else. You probably won't find too many of us. Let's just be truthful, right? So then you have your therapist. That's where your social workers come in. That's where your licensed mental health counselor, your LCSW, which is a licensed clinical social worker, LSW, licensed social worker, LMAC, licensed mental health counselor. That's very popular in the Chicago area, just for a lot of people to know that. Then you have your LPCs, licensed professional counselors. Now, those are the people who are fully independently licensed. But underneath there, you have your associate license. That means they have the degrees, they're finishing up their hours, they're working towards licensure. That don't mean they're not competent. It just means that they either didn't want it at first, or our hours are long, y'all. It's like 2 to 4 years for us to become licensed after we get our degree, after internship, after all of these things. Yeah, they put us through the ringer. So your therapist is highly qualified. Okay. Then we have stuff like drug and alcohol counselors, right? And they go to school for a separate certification. You have your ADHD specialist. You have your sex therapy specialist. Like, all of these things are additional things. You have your anger management specialist, right? All these things are different and additional. And then you have like your behavior assistant. They can't work on their own. They often work under a therapist or an intern that you may see that's a little bit on a lower level. So that's the gamut of mental health specialists.
Okay, so thank you for that. Because I thought that if you were a social worker, you were a doctor. I thought that if you were a therapist, you were a doctor. But this is knowledge. I wanted to touch on, if you know about this, just because this doesn't have anything to question, but you had mentioned something about adult autism. So you can go through your whole life not knowing you was autistic until you were adult. Okay, so if you did not know you were autistic, is it because something you didn't get tested, or you weren't aware? Like, how does that work?
So there's this thought that you can see when someone's autistic. It's not true. Autism does not show on the face. It's not like people who have like the extra chromosome, for example, right? It's not like that. It's not shown on the face. It's not something that's walking, breathing. Those are called hidden handicaps, right? And you can't see them. But people who are autistic ask a lot of questions. They learn differently. It's called neurodiversity. So that's what the spectrum is called, neurodiversity. It's autism, ADHD, all is on this spectrum. And it's called neurodiversity because they don't necessarily learn the way me and you learn. Like the way I'm having a conversation with you, they may need to ask a deeper question, right? To really get to it. You may need to break it down to smaller snippets for them to understand it. Their communication is different. Their learning styles are different. And so they're neurodiverse because the way information comes from here and come in here is not the same how it will come from me and you. So you can live your whole life and realize or you could even have a learning disorder and not realize it. Like, people may say you're lazy, but you're not really lazy. You probably have something's going on with you and you were never tested. Your parents was like, oh, just get off your behind and go do this. Or you realized you were struggling in college and you couldn't finish, right? Because you needed extra help. You needed somebody to help you. Or some people are neurodivergent. They have a hard time cleaning up their house. It's not they're nasty. They just can't sit still long enough to follow through on a task. So it takes them a lot longer to clean up their house. It takes them a lot longer to communicate their needs. Their brains go so fast. So if you ever have somebody to constantly interrupt you and like you're talking to them and every time they just constantly interrupt you, they might have an ADHD brain because they don't want to forget. They have really bad memory. So if you're married to somebody with ADHD or neurodiversity, they may not remember something that you talked about last night if they don't write it down, because their short-term memory is shot. But they can remember what they ate when they were 5 years old. But their short-term memory does not work very well. They jump from one thing to the other. They're very smart, educated people, but they don't complete tasks oftentimes. A lot of them are not very successful in our terms of success because they can't stay focused in one area to continue that task. Their brain goes a mile a minute. They're thinking, they're doing, they're moving, they lose interest really quickly, and they hyper fixate on one thing. So when they're doing this thing, they're hyper fixated on it. And it's just like everything that could go wrong or right, they're on it. And that's it. When they get bored, whether that thing is finished or not, we're over here now. Hyper fixate. Oh, that's how they are. So it's a whole spectrum. So if you guys want to know more, look up neurodiversity and you'll get a better idea.
I'm sorry, just taking a note.
Oh no, it's cool. There's a group on Facebook. If you're curious about what I mean about the cleaning thing, it's a whole group. It has thousands of people in there. It's called Neurodivergent Cleaning Crew. Thousands of people in there, y'all.
Okay, so the reason why I'm taking notes is because it's the adult part for me. Mm-hmm. So my thing is, you go through your whole life not knowing this, and this is it. Or is it possible that this can just be diagnosed and it comes on later in life, or something triggers this, or is it just been there the whole time?
It's probably been there the whole time. It's probably been little things that you feel like I'm off a little bit. I don't really understand what this person is saying. I just can't seem to get to this, or I'm not really able to fully work to my best of my capacity.
Okay. You broke that down and answered the questions. I appreciate that. That knowledge. Yes. See, knowledge. She went to school. Okay. So your next question. Your next question is, what are some of the things we can do for someone searching for a therapist, and how do you know if the therapist is right for you?
Okay. So first, let me say this. There's this stigma of, oh, Black therapy is only for Black people. That's a no. Black therapy is for everybody. We don't go to school and they say, oh, hey, you only work with these Black people over here. When we go to school, we learn the same thing that everybody learns the same thing. Let me just say that, right? When you go to school for therapy, you learn theory, you learn interventions, you learn all these things. The only thing they don't teach you is how to run a business. But that's a whole nother topic, right? So we learn all these different things and we can work with anybody. We choose our specialties and then we go and get additional training, right? So when you're looking for a therapist, the questions to ask is, ask them about their degrees. What are they trained in? What are their specialty areas? How long have they been working within their specialty areas? Do they have any certifications, additional trainings? Ask them to see it. You can ask your therapist to see their degrees. You can ask them to see their trainings. Ask them, do they offer free consultation, right? How are you going to know if you're a good fit? And if the therapist is going to know if you're a good fit if you don't start off with a free consultation? Right? It's really important to do that because you get to understand your therapist. Ask them, do they have sessions when your needs are? Are you a morning person? Do you need morning sessions? Do you need evening sessions? Do you need weekend sessions? You know, what do they offer in terms of that? Do they allow for support? What do they do with your information? That's really important to know, right? Your information can be subpoenaed when you go to a therapist, right? So this is something that people don't often think about. When you use your job insurance or you use these different insurance, like it's a possibility that your records can be subpoenaed because of what it is. And also, oftentimes when you go to see a therapist and you use insurance, you have to have a diagnosis. Most people don't want a diagnosis. So you can see a private therapist not using insurance. That therapist does not have to give you a diagnosis, but it's going to cost you out of pocket. Right? So you could pay for therapy a couple of ways. You could pay for it through your insurance, your health savings account, or you can pay your therapist through directly like a check or a credit card or whatever. One thing to keep in mind when we say we can't find a therapist is because therapists are overwhelmed and there's a lot of people seeking their services. And with Black therapists or BIPOC or therapists of color being such a small percentage, 5%, I think, total of the population of therapists, that means it's not a lot of us. And some of us don't accept insurance, me included. I'm going to tell you why. Because I think people think, oh, why don't you accept insurance? Insurance don't pay us. Give you a perfect example. You say, I'm not going to call an insurance name, but you use, I don't know, the Mirror Insurance, for example. You come to me and you say, hey, I want to use my insurance to meet with you. Well, I've already have a contract with that insurance company in order to meet with you, right? I signed a contract that I can't tell nobody what the rates are, not even my fellow therapists in the area that I'm in, what the rates are, or else they'll cancel my contract. But they contract with me and they say, okay, I'm going to pay you $65 an hour to meet with this client. I have to pay for my own insurance in order to meet with you, liability, the cost of doing business. I have to pay for an electronic health record system to keep your records secure. In addition to the internet fees, the computer fees, and all the other fees that go with my business, how can I accept $65 an hour from the insurance company for meeting with you? How many clients do you think I would need to see accepting $65 an hour? And if you think I'm faking it, ask therapists what the insurance pays us. It's anywhere from 45 to maybe 100. You might be lucky if they pay you 110. So for a lot of therapists, it's not worth it. Then you have to fight with them for the money that you need to get because we bill after the session. Then they'll come back and say, oh, the code wasn't right. So now I've lost money and I have the family to feed. I can't see 40 clients a week. It's not possible in this type of job to see that many clients in order to make it. So a lot of therapists don't accept insurance, but they may offer you a sliding scale. So a therapist can sliding scale anywhere from 65, can start as low as $65 an hour for a sliding scale for a small number of spots. And then some therapists charge all the way up to $300-$400, depending on their specialty area and what they help you do if they're couples therapists. So keep that in mind when you're seeking a therapist. And also almost every therapist give you a super bill. What a super bill is it basically is an invoice that you then submit to your insurance to get reimbursed minus the amounts. So if I charge you $150, your insurance pays $100. We're being generous. They pay $100. You can get that $100 from your insurance company minus the $50. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So then this way, the therapist get paid her full fee and you pay, more towards your therapy. But now you have a therapist who is dedicated to you, who is happy to work with you. Not that we're never not happy, but they're able to work with you and they're able to make a living and take care of their families. So they don't have to take on so many clients, so they can spend more time and focus on helping you to heal and achieve your goal.
Perfect. Okay. Before we go to your next question, you were mentioning about the low percentage in Black therapists. When you're learning things in school and everything, how do you know if a white therapist is right for you? Like, what do they teach you for you to be just general? For me to be relatable to a white or another nationality therapist?
Culturally, competency is a really big thing. Some schools teach cultural competency and some don't. Most don't teach cultural competency. Cultural competency comes across in everything that we do. It's whether you're a teacher or you're a therapist, right? And the reason why cultural competency is so important is because I'm gonna give you I'm gonna be really blunt and very real right now. Okay, because I think people really need to understand that. I am African. I was born in Africa. I was raised in the United States. So you can say I am African American, right? My culture is different. I was raised with African parents. You see all the jokes, the memes on the internet about African parents is right. They're exactly like that, right? So my culture is different. So when I'm working with, Black Americans or, African Americans who were born here and this is their culture, I can't assume I know what you went through. I don't have a history of slavery in my past, quote unquote, right? I don't necessarily have my parents, my grandparents weren't raised in the South and dealt with Jim Crow. I don't know how that may have affected you other than the knowledge I read in books. So I need to ask you, how is this for you? I can't assume. So part of the thing with certain white therapists is they will consider something a mental illness that's not. Black people talk to themselves. Our grandparents talk to themselves. It was how they got through. That's not a mental illness to talk to yourself. Now, there is psychosis when you're responding to stimuli outside of you, meaning like you're hearing voices. That's different. But just to be like, I need to get up and go wash those dishes because, girl, you ain't got time to be playing. That's not psychosis, right? Exactly. But some people will think that, right? Mm-hmm. The way we have our relationships in our family, we're very, very, my family is super close. My father and his brothers and sisters talk every day, regardless to where they are in the world. Okay. My father's in Africa right now. He still talks to them every day. They have 5-hour difference. They talk every single day. For some people, that would not be a good idea because they will think that you have a codependent relationship, but it's not. It's a cultural norm for us. So when you are working with any culture, white, Black, or blue, Asian culture, we talked a little bit about, you need to understand what are the norms in the culture, right? In order to understand what will be considered a mental illness. And also, if I come to you and I say, Miss Biscuit, listen, my parents is getting on my nerve because they think it's my job to pay their mortgage. You can't just be like, oh no, honey, you don't need to be paying their mortgage. No, you need to figure out what is the relationship already existing? What is the norms set apart? To then help me figure out how do I work within my cultural norms to help me, not what would be the general norms.
Yes, exactly.
So that's the difference.
Okay. So I have one more question for you, and you can answer at your will. Okay. So the next question is, I'm sorry. Okay, so mourning over a loved one is normal. However, can you tell my viewers what signs to look for when someone needs help?
I'm gonna tell you a story so that lets you know how. So mourning is normal, grieving is normal. No two people grieve the same, right? We like to tell people to get over it. You can't tell me to get over it, and I can't tell you to get over it because I can't tell you how long you need to go through this phase. But I have an aunt, and she lost her son suddenly at 20 something years old, right? She came home and he died in her house, and she found him dead. She used to have this habit of going to the graveyard every day. Not just going. She would cook food and put in the little containers because he was buried in one of those mausoleums. She would put food in little containers and leave in front of the mausoleum and be there for hours. That was her coping skills, but she also needed to talk to somebody because she was still acting like he was here and he just happened to be in this place. She hadn't accepted yet that he was gone, right? So when grief gets to the point where it interferes in the person's every day-to-day life and they're no longer functioning, that time they need to talk to somebody. When it gets to the point where they keep saying, I wish to be dead, I wish I wasn't here, it's time to talk to somebody. So it's like a fine line. It's nothing wrong with recommending somebody talk to a grief therapist. There are therapists that specifically work with grief. It's nothing wrong with recommending that they talk to a grief therapist. It's nothing wrong with recommending that, maybe you need to go to a group dealing with grief where, you might be with other people who are handling it or managing it differently, right? When grief gets to the point where we can no longer live our day-to-day lives. Okay. When it gets to the point where, not just, okay, I'm not picking up the phone because, my loved one just passed away or something just happened to them 2-3 weeks ago, but we're going months and months. We're not taking care of ourselves. We're not eating right. We don't care no more. We have just given up on life. You can actually grieve yourself to death, by the way. I don't know if people know that, right? So there was a young lady who, and the story was very big in the news, in New Jersey. She sent her 2 children to live with, to spend the summer or 2 weeks with her cousin. Her cousin's son had a mental illness and he killed 3 of the kids, right? He killed his sister and her 2 children. She died like 2-3 months after her children was buried. She grieved herself to death because grief can take over the soul and it can make you not want to live anymore. So those are extreme.
Yes, very extreme. Okay, I hope you guys are paying attention to that because it can take a toll. Okay, Miss Aya Brandy, thank you so very much for your knowledge. I'm gonna put you backstage and go ahead and talk to another panelist. I really appreciate your knowledge on my show. Okay, thank you. Okay, all right. So our next guest, we're going to bring on Mr. T. Dawson. How you doing, sir? Oh, you got to unmute your screen.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm good. How about yourself?
I am good. How you feeling today?
Oh, I'm good. Excited, to be able to sharpen the people and listening to my Miss Aya. That was great information. Some of the things I knew, but some things I didn't. So I'm glad that she was able to share that with us.
Yes, I am. I seen you was taking notes. I'm taking notes. I'm like, yes, we all taking notes. I see people look and say, is that right? That is definitely right. I was like, yes, this is beautiful. Getting the knowledge out there. Okay, so I would like you to go ahead and give your professional introduction of yourself so that everyone can know exactly what you do and what you can help them with.
Oh, okay. All right. My name is Tavakas Dawson. I'm the founder of the Hurt Help Group, and I'm also the author of the Hurt Help book. I specialize in childhood trauma, addiction, and behavior modification with prevention, intervention, and reentry work. And I work with youth and adults in that field. So, yeah.
So, okay, no problem. Yes. You said you work with youth and adults?
Yes, youth and adults. So pretty much with youth, providing prevention, them being able to understand, certain characters in the neighborhood, whether it be a drug dealer, a parent being a user, just drug users in the community, sense of entitlement, guilty by association. So that's where the prevention comes in, to be able to have them to identify with those characters when they come upon them.
Prevention. That's the word right there. Yes. Okay. Well, we're gonna go ahead and jump in with your questions. Okay. So your first question, in your book, because he is an author, yes. In your book, you talk about drug dealers being addicted to selling drugs. Can you let us know about that? Because that was kind of, it was really interesting. But once you when you said it, I was like, and then I was like, wait a minute, read it, listen to it again. Because that's my mind. My mind, I don't listen to respond. I listen and then I say it again in my head. And then I say, okay, well, I can see where you're going with that. Go ahead, tell us.
Yeah. So it's a stigma that the drug dealer is not an addict. And I say on the contrary, the addiction is greed for money or anything of value. Reason being, people don't look at a drug dealer as being a drug dealer don't look at himself or herself as being an addict, is because society has accepted the drug dealer in so many ways, whether it be in our communities, through the music, because of financial gain that a person can get from a drug dealer. So many people in society has accepted this individual to where they've like I don't have I don't have addictions, like, look what I'm doing. It basically goes into that term to being a functioning alcoholic. You either alcoholic or you're not. So it's like a drug dealer. It's like you addicted to something, but again, it's just stigmatized to where it's like they have this quote unquote this sense of a Robin Hood image, and they just don't see themselves as being an addict.
The Robin Hood image is real interesting that you say that. So basically, it's like taking from the rich and giving to the poor. Like they have to put something positive behind it so that they can make it seem like it's something that's needed.
Absolutely.
Okay, I understand it. I most definitely can relate to that. Yes, I know some people. Yeah, okay, and that I didn't think of that when you first said it. That's a good one. Okay. So I'm gonna go to your next question.
All right.
Your next question is: when it comes to reentry, meaning the population, typically how much counseling is needed?
So this right here, I want to break it down on a couple of levels when it comes to that, and I have something that I wrote out, so I just want to share with the audience. So my answer would be that this is for everybody. First, I would say everybody processing and learning ability is different, but normally a solid 6 months of counseling would be needed, if not more. Reason being is because studies show that it take anywhere from 18 to 254 days to form a new habit. Studies also show that on average, it takes up to 66 days for a new behavior to become automatic, just for a person to implement it. So that means just because a counselor get the information, they're not going to process it right away. So just because a counselor they work with reentry population who suffer and battle with simple PTSD, complex PTSD, developmental trauma, childhood trauma, and addiction. The process to unlearn, to relearn those traumatic experiences is going to take even more time. So again, Miss Aya talked about having those disorders. So if you have a disorder like that, someone that doesn't have an addiction to that degree, they'll probably process it way faster, the information that's being given by a counselor. But somebody that's suffering from addiction, especially, it's going to take them a whole lot longer. So that's why I said 6 months or better. And with that being said, a person got to understand that the problem that they have, it didn't occur overnight. So they shouldn't expect for it to leave overnight either. So I would say just get the coping skills, get the resources that the counselor giving you, and then apply it, and then just trust the process. Because again, it's not going to leave overnight, and you're going to we tend to have problems on a daily basis as well. You're trying to fix it, you already have problems up. So 6 months of counseling, that's like ideal, but still some people be in counseling for years. So it just depends on the individual process body information.
Okay. And I'm sorry for my viewers, this is talking about reentry of the population when it comes from coming out of incarceration. He works hand in hand with a lot of people and successful businessmen that actually take pride in doing this. So I know that you said about 6 months, and I know it's determining on a person and how everything is. Oh, this goes to my next question. I'm sorry. I forgot what your next, because I was going to go there. This is so intriguing to me. Okay, so when did you start? I mean, when did you start counseling? And okay, no, not when did you, but I'm sorry, I rewrote this wrong. When do you need to start counseling? And is it too late if someone has already been out of counseling for about 2 or 3 years?
I would say right away, the minute that you are able to identify that you have a problem that you can't overcome on your own, seek professional help immediately. Because again, what's going to happen in just day to day, we're going to encounter more problems and more problems. And if you come from an environment that we normally suffer from, complex PTSD and developmental trauma, to let that go unaddressed and uncounseled, then it's like it's gonna be you're gonna spiral out of control. And it's like the old saying, pressure busts a pipe. And that's what happens with us. So immediately when you're able to recognize that you have something going on with you, just whether it be a support group, Miss Aya talked about us going to, like the pay scales and how much it costs for counseling. But this is what I tell people too, because I'm the same way. It's like I have a rate as well as every other counselor. But even if they can't afford it right now, I always point them in a direction, because I'm an alcohol and drug counselor. So I say, well, go to AA meetings, go to CA meetings, go to NA meetings. You got these support groups. So even if you can't pay right now, don't allow that to be an excuse that you don't allow yourself to get help. So I don't like to turn anybody away that I know that's in dire need or is detrimental to them. So I still try to provide them with the proper resources that I know they can get.
That's beautiful. That's what I was going to ask. So I also had mentioned about how many how many therapists it is when it comes to the Black community. However, I wanted to know in social work, and when you leave the actual facility, when you leave jail or whatever, do they get a packet where they say, okay, well, this is a list of counselors for this, this, and this, or is it just that you go to a halfway house and then you just go home and whatever your day?
It's sad to say, Miss Biscuit, they don't. Even in the inside, like very few prisons actually offer rehabilitation. I'm like Miss Aya, I keep it 100. They call me the unorthodox counselor, and I'm gonna just be totally honest. Prisons is big business, so they not in the business of rehabilitation. So that's just being honest right there. So you're not getting the proper care and rehabilitation that you treatment that you're supposed to get in prison. So again, coming home, they really ain't caring about that. Why? Because they in the business of making money. So to rehabilitate you is going against the grain for them. They look forward, to me personally, they look forward to the recidivism rate being at an all-time high. So they resources, they not, if anything, and this from personal experience with family, friends, myself, they most so want you to get a job when you come home, because they get a percentage, especially if you're in a halfway house. So you got to pay the halfway house a certain percentage of your check for that bed. If you don't have a job, the state, you still under the care of the state. So the state is going to pay for that bed for only for so long, but they putting the pressure on you to get a job, and then telling you if you don't get a job, we're going to violate you. So you're going to violate this person. You're going to violate this person for not having a job. Now they worried about trying to get a job, as well as all the other trauma that they done been through that y'all didn't counsel them on when they was in prison. So again, it leaves the person vulnerable, and they just be like, well, shit, the system don't care, excuse my language. the system don't care, and then they wind up violating and going back. So to answer your question, yeah, I wanted to go on with that, but to answer your question, no, they not coming with a whole lot of resources like that. And again, it's not in their best interest to do that. Yeah, just keeping it all the way 100.
Yeah, now that you say that, it sure like I agree. Like, yeah, if it's a business and you want them to keep coming back, why supply them with the needs that they need to push on and not come back? Oh Lord. Okay. Well, thank you so very much. I appreciate you for coming on and giving us the knowledge that we need, and to make sure that all of my viewers that know someone or you are have came out of jail and have not seek help. I say that you should anyway, but now you see why you should from someone firsthand that has the knowledge. Make sure you get his book. Can you tell them where they can purchase your book?
Yeah, my website is www.thehurthelpgroup.org, and it's a link on there that they can purchase the book. If they do have family members in prison as well, I actually do ship, long as it's coming from an accredited bookstore. I'm based out of Los Angeles, so I have a few bookstores here that ship my books inside the prison. So, and I correspond with their family members as well. And once they complete the book, because it's a workbook, once they complete the book, I actually give them a certificate, which will help them at their parole boards. And when they come, just say try to come on assistant. A lot of drug cases want you to go through a drug program in order to get government assistance. My certificate will provide that resource for them as well in order to get aid. So, yeah.
Okay, see, resources. That's what we need. Resources. Okay, well, thank you so much, Mr. Dawson. Make sure that you go on. You don't have to go right now, but after the show, make sure you go to the link on my page and make sure you put all of that information on there to make sure that everyone can get a hold to you, because we all know someone that has been in jail or is in jail now that needs our help.
Okay.
So thank you. I'm going to go to the next. My next guest is Miss Lauren. She's actually in Asia. So I did not know that they don't have daylight savings time over there. So sorry. But she seen my message and jumped straight on. So she's on now, and it is a way different time zone. So we want to welcome her in and thank her so very much for coming on. Miss Lauren, what time is it there?
It is 3:48 a.m. in the morning.
You see how she loves me? And I just met her last week. Yes. Well, thank you so very much. I appreciate you. So I'm going to let you, I'm going to get to your questions and I'm going to let you go. Okay. So let me slide down. Okay. So your first, well, I still want you to do your whole professional introduction. So please tell us all about you.
Okay, well, hi, I'm Lauren Wydell. I'm a certified counselor, and I specialize in marriage and youth. And yeah, so I have lived in Asia for 23 years, working for different companies and building mental health awareness across Asia. I've also lived in the States for a little bit. And when I was working there, I worked for the crisis hotline and went to Purdue University there. And yeah, so besides that, just have been in Asia working to build mental awareness, which is really lacking here culturally.
Okay. Well, I'm sure it is, and we talked about that and what you had told me. I'm so glad you're there. Okay, so we're gonna jump straight into your questions so that you can go ahead and get some more rest. So again, you had spoke about you are a marriage counselor, so these questions are pertaining to that. We have a lot of viewers that are seeking information about relationships. So we're gonna go into that spiel. Okay, so your first question. You doing what you do for so long, how important is it to receive marriage counseling before marriage?
It depends on the individual and the couple, but it really does help. I would highly recommend it. It makes sure that both people in the relationship have their expectations heard, and that they are both coming in with at least similar values. So we're not seeing a clash later on, such as some people don't talk about this, children, religion. Some people actually don't cover that before they get married, which can be very dangerous later on in the marriage. And any kind of wrinkles in the relationship that they want smoothed out. So having marriage therapy before actually getting married and going through couples counseling just really helps both parties avoid conflict in the future. And they also learn techniques on how to fight with each other if they get into a conflict in the future, which is likely because marriage is conflict sometimes.
Okay, so you said fight with each other. So basically, you're going to teach me how to have a argument with my spouse.
Yes, teaching. There's definitely techniques on how to argue and how not to argue. And so we use what a really good one is Imago Therapy, and that uses mirroring, validation, and empathy. So what we first do is listen to your other partner. And I know, surprisingly, that sounds really simple, but it's really hard to do in a fight for many people. Listen, validate the other person's feelings. So you'd say something like, you'd listen to the person and you'd say, okay, I can see you're really upset about this and it really stresses you out. Even if you don't understand it, if you completely don't agree with it, that's okay. But validate their feelings. That feeling matters. It's going to affect you. So that feeling matters to you. And then empathize. And so being like, okay, that sounds really stressful. And you can give an example. Like I've also felt stress, and I know that it can take a toll. And then you put your opinion in and go, this is how I feel. So the reason that works so well is because it starts a conversation off, and the fight off, say, it brings it down a notch. But two, the other person has felt heard and has had the other person say, okay, your feeling's okay. And I get it.
Okay.
This is my side. And they can say your side. But by the time you actually get to your side, that person that you're talking to, when they were a 10, they were on fire, they're now down to a 5.
Okay. So you're breaking it down by communicating with them and understanding allowing them to know you understand what they're going through.
Yes. And you'd be surprised at the impact of validating someone's feelings. When someone feels they're not heard, I see that so commonly with couples. You don't listen. You're not hearing me. They're talking to each other, but they're not communicating at all. So being heard, and even having your partner go, I can see you're really upset right now, and I'm sorry that you feel that way. Just having the other person validate your feeling and be like, yeah, that's okay. Really
see,
helps.
that sounds really, I'm with it, and it's just that if I'm really, really upset and someone says that to me, I'm like, do you really understand that? That's how I would come back with it. Because I just told you, I done told you 12 million times what it is, and you saying you understand and you hear me. Do you really hear me? Yes.
And then that's when you come in with empathy. And you go, yeah, I really do understand I really do understand. Maybe I don't understand completely on what you're going through, but the empathy comes in with how they can relate to that emotion. And that'll be on a different,
okay, so you have to,
but they'll be like, I've been under that stress before, so I kind of know what it feels, but not exactly.
Okay, so now I will be down to a 5 if you say that. Yes. Yeah. Okay, I got you. Okay, so we're gonna go to your next question. Okay, so your next question is, why do you believe most people don't want to have counseling before marriage?
Most people are reluctant to come into counseling because they feel like if we're going into couples counseling, we're broken. We're, they see it as kind of the last ditch resort. We got to go to couples counseling, we're falling apart, instead of seeing it as more maintenance and making a relationship stronger. So with that kind of point of view of seeing couples therapy as failure, we're not working, facing truths about the relationship, that's why people try to avoid it. And they also know that during couples counseling, a lot of raw feelings are going to come out. And sometimes people are like, I don't want to go there. And they just push it to the side and move on, and they don't want to talk about it.
And then have to go to counseling anyway to fix stuff that could have been fixed before or prevented.
Yes, exactly. Okay. Also, I think some people aren't even aware of it. People, when, through media and TV shows and movies, we don't learn that with couples counseling. We always see people going when they're breaking.
That is true. They don't go before.
No.
That's true. Yes, we need a show like that. Okay, let's go to your next question. Okay, so your next question is, what do you recommend a couple to do if infidelity has taken place in their relationship and they don't know how to reconcile?
So one, I would definitely go straight to couples counseling when you have infidelity happen, unless you truly feel like you can get over it, because couples counseling can give you a space where you have someone involved that can, when it gets really hot, you can be like, time, hold on. I would say discernment therapy is a great one for this one. And that's when likely the couples therapist would see the couple and then see you individually and then bring the couple back together. And that's really a really great way for infidelity to be sorted out, because sometimes when you go in as a couple after cheating, the emotions are incredibly raw, and the person that is who is cheated shuts down, and they just stay silent, and they just go, I'm the one that's totally at fault here. It's me, and you're really not going, I cheated because I'm unhappy and I really want to get out of this relationship, and I just don't feel like I can say it, or I don't feel like I have sometimes the financial means to get out of the relationship. I'm relying on the other person or something like that. So, it's good to see individually and then bring it back together. And by having it said out loud, by going to see the therapist individually and saying those things out loud, being able to say it to your partner is a little easier because you've already said it before.
Okay, so it's not the first time that you're actually coming to realize that you hurt that person.
Yeah. And a lot of times when people do the individual, they'll say things like, I've never said that I've never said that before. I've never said that to my partner. Yeah. And it's like, okay, well, you gotta be ready for the next one.
And then it'll help the person that got cheated on, because now we know that you're being held accountable for what you did, and you're going to talk to me about it and not just sit there because you feel guilty for hurting me.
Yeah. And also it can get to the core of the issue, because when you look at cheating's more of a symptom of a real problem. So a lot of cheating happens, surprisingly, not because, she's not having sex with me enough or something like that. It's because of a communication breakdown. I feel alone. I feel neglected. I have, I've lost feelings, but I don't want change because change is scary for people. So they're like, I'm just going to stay in this and see if I can have kind of like my cake and eat it too. But it comes down to a lot of miscommunication and neglect.
Interesting. Okay. Well, Miss Lauren, I'm gonna let you go now, but we're gonna chat after the show. And I also wanted to step out of the show and go on my page and put all of your criteria so that they can reach out to you. Because like I said before, since the pandemic happened, most people do everything virtual. So if someone wants to reach out to you, they can.
Absolutely.
So I'm gonna put you backstage so you can do that. And I'm gonna bring my next guest in. Thank you.
Okay.
So I'm sorry, I cut her off. Okay, so I am bringing on the power couple. They've been through the whole time, and they was like, "Oh my God," because I forgot to tell everyone when they were going to come on this time. So I was like, "Oh, I forgot to tell them that they're coming on last." But I appreciate you guys coming on. This is Mr. Addison and Miss Adrian. You guys, ever since I talked to Miss Adrian on the phone, and you were sitting on speaker, she's like, "Yeah, he just came down. He's ready to do it too." I'm like, "Oh." I said, yes. I said, "Where y'all at?" She said, "Oh, we right up the street." Oh, okay, that's what's up. They are very, very nice, man, loving, going. Like when I tell y'all, like, I gained 2 friends right here. That's how welcoming they are. So, with that being said, first, Mr. Addison, can you please tell me some stuff? Well, tell my viewers about yourself.
Well, first of all, I want to acknowledge my colleagues, Mrs. Dawson, Miss Aya, and Miss Lauren. Y'all had us over here about if you'd have seen backstage, it was like, wow, our necks are stronger now from doing like this. So my name is Addison Jackson Jr., and I'm an MSW, which is a Master's of Social Work, and I'm an LCSW, which is a licensed clinical social worker. And the things that I have the certifications that I have, I'm a certified clinical telemental health provider, which only means that I can do the things that I need to do across a computer, okay? And then I'm a certified clinical anxiety treatment professional. And then I'm a certified depression mental disorder treatment professional. And then I'm a certified complex trauma professional, both 1 and 2. Now, Ms. Aya talked about these things and all these letters behind people's names. And some people do it just for show. But if you hone your skills to be able to help people and move their lives forward, guess what? Just like we were talking about the pay scale, you get to make your own pay scale because of the fact that you are helping people. They are willing to pay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
when people know that they're going to get help, they're going to pay.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And we are the co-owners of Jackson Behavioral Health Services, LLC. And matter of fact, that's our one of our babies, because the thing that we truly believe in is mental health, not only in just the Black community, but in our country. As you know, over the last few years, it has went down a lot. Yes. And a lot of people do not know where to turn. And like I told you before, I consider myself a unicorn. I'm a Black male LCSW mental health therapist. Okay. And I do this because I love it, not about the money.
And I could tell when I did your interview and I spoke with you, I most definitely could tell because your wife, when I was speaking to her about it, and I was like, okay, I'm doing this, and this, but I just got to reach out to this. And she jumped straight on and was like, "Oh no, he'll do it. I know he will. He want to help." I said, "Oh, yes, he wants to help." Okay, well, let's get him on so he can help me then. She was like, yes, knowledge that needs to be out there. Okay, so behind every great man, there's a woman. Go ahead and give us your whole professional spiel, ma'am.
Hello, everyone. I'm Adrian Jackson, co-owner of Jackson Behavioral Health Services. I do not have all of the letters behind my name, but what the work that I do is more of a holistic spiritual aspect of mental health. It involves introducing people to the power of the energy within themselves. Any change starts within. And a lot of times we're conditioned to believe that we need to seek something outside of ourselves. Mental health is not a one-dimensional thing. And what I do is not in lieu of, it is in addition to. So I do know that people, what I do is natural, it's practical. It's called root work. And that is probably way far to the left of what all of my esteemed colleagues do here as far as, science and medicine. But what I do is a little bit more natural and holistic, and it's a healing tradition that involves, the use of plants, herbs, trees, water, minerals, crystals, and it centers on health and wealth and happiness.
Yes, and that's why it's so many things that are out there to get us where we need to be. So
Yes.
we don't need to just stay straight and narrow because everyone is not straight and narrow.
That's
That's
right.
why I need you on there. Okay, so we're gonna jump in. Okay, so we're gonna first go to Mr. Addison. Your question first. Okay, so is Googling my symptoms helping me when I come to you, or is it hurting me, and why?
Well, first of all, the thing that comes to mind at first is it hurts, right? But at least you know that something's going on where you have to see me, first of all, and then two, you want to know a little bit something about it, right? So it's a mixed bag of things. So basically what I'm saying is you can self-diagnose yourself, but that is the wrong thing to do. Because number one, people like myself and my colleagues, we are school trained and we have the experience, the live experience with people and cases and clients. Year after year, we have served people and we learn every day also. And just like I told you when we did our interview, guess what? I'm a therapist with a therapist. And I'm a retired Army veteran and I'm a combat veteran. So guess what? Full disclosure, I have severe PTSD from the Gulf War. But guess what? I'm okay because I allow myself to be one with myself and understand why I'm doing what I'm doing. If I feel that little anxious feeling in my stomach, or I see something that surprises me or makes me feel not so good, guess what? I learned using my tools what to do. See, that's the one problem that we have. We know something's wrong, but we don't know what to do, which is what brings you to a therapist. Because when we go to a therapist, guess what happens? We are supposed to learn, just like we learn from our experiences. Good ones, not so good ones.
Yeah, I agree. I most definitely agree. Yeah, I stopped Googling my symptoms a long time. I stopped when I found out that I was going to die tomorrow, and it been
Right.
I stopped because literally,
Right.
I was like, you click and click and click again and click some more, and I mean, it's understandable. Be like, oh, what this, and then you just do one search.
Right.
So when you in a sunken place, especially at night,
Right.
you've been clicking.
What I will also say is for those parents out there, don't diagnose your children because you may set them up for failure. Because we spoke earlier with Miss Aida. She said, hey, there may be some kind of autism spectrum disorder. There may be some kind of ADHD. See, a lot of people don't understand there's a difference between ADHD and ADD. ADD is the adult onset of ADHD. And with that being said, it is treated differently because your brain has already solidified in who you are. So when you have those kinds of things and you learn, from a professional, why am I doing this way? Why am I cleaning up? Why am I washing my hands 27 times or knocking the door 3 times? Oh, I must have what do people say?
Yeah, I must have a problem.
I must have a problem. And so that's why you come to people like myself.
To rule it out and to get the right help.
Yes.
So with ADHD and ADD, you said, can you get that? Does that just transfer over because you did not take care of it as a child, or can you just develop that as an adult?
I will tell you this as succinctly as I can. Everything in our body works with chemicals. Everything. And we are energy, okay? So when we are diagnosed with something like ADD, there can be a chemical imbalance that creates an issue in how you act, okay? Just like the same way with ADHD, some children should not be diagnosed with ADHD because number one, they have not been looking at the DSM-5 close enough, the person that diagnosed them, and they like, well, he has the symptoms, she has the symptoms, it must be ADHD. But you haven't really done the battery of tests to say, okay, is this definitively what this person is suffering with? So when we look at that and we have ADD as an adult, there's a different criteria than ADHD. So it doesn't kind of switch over like,
Right.
I'm passing this off to you.
Okay.
It has to deal with your chemical makeup, and also just like we talk energy. It's our energy.
Yes. Yeah. It's I don't like the diagnosing of the self. I just know that everybody is different, and you should just go and talk to somebody if you feel too different.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay, so go to your second question. Okay, so your second question is, what is the difference between psychotherapy and pharmacology therapy? Is that it right? Pharmacology therapy. And how do you determine which one is needed?
Okay. And we talked a bit about this earlier. Okay, psychotherapy is again where we are learning about our mind. Okay. Now, we can do part of it where we are relieving the symptoms. That's pharmacological part of it. I'm gonna give you this pill, and it's going to either give you some not have the serotonin. We have what's called SSRIs. Okay. And so the serotonin, which is one of the feel-good hormones, it does not allow for that feel-good hormone to be reuptake into our brain to be used again. So what it does is it allows it to stay around and keep you feeling good, right? And so that's the pharmacological part. And unfortunately, in the big pharma way of doing things in our country, that's the easiest way to do it. And a lot of people that dispense meds make a lot of money off of that. I'll say that. But at the same time, there are more people that can use help from the psychotherapy, because psychotherapy is more than just saying, how do you feel today? No, it's more about the holistic part of who you are, where you come from, what are you doing, what is triggering you, have you had trauma? Have you been a person that has had sexual abuse in your life? Have you had bullying in your life? Did you just get whooped last week? See, a lot of people want to be diagnosed with PTSD, but guess what? You have to have the symptoms of PTSD, such as you don't like doing things what you used to do. You have hypervigilance, things of that nature, for more than 30 days. That's the bare minimum, okay? And that comes from the DSM-5. That's our book, our Bible, okay?
That's it's really interesting about the hormone and the what is it called? The
SSRI.
Oh, SSRI. That's a medication.
Yeah, that's the medication that deals with the happiness in us that makes us stay happy.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's the easiest way to just make us stay happy when we sad, instead of figuring out why you sad. And
it goes between treating the symptom and treating the root cause.
Okay.
That's how we determine which one is needed. But in the way that I do things at my my therapy is I use both. Okay. Now I cannot dispense medication, but I can refer to dispense medications. Yes. However, at the same time, I would only refer out to someone to be given some medications when we do enough batteries, knowing that this person has deep depression or deep anxiety, and things of that nature. And I explain these things to my clients in deep the way that they should be taught about it. Okay, because once we get out there and say to ourselves, "Hey, I got depression," or "I'm depressed," guess what? Depression is a natural part of life. Anxiety is a natural part of life, because anxiety is nothing but the alarm system of the body to let you know that something is going on.
Right.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like I hear people say that they are real anxious and they need a pill for something. I'm like, wait, why?
No.
We're at a football game, or if you're feeling a certain type of way, you should want to know how your body is feeling or why you feel that way. Yeah, I never understood that part. I never understood that part. And just being hyper or jumping around and stuff is like, why are you? But don't say that you need a pill for that though. I've always said that though.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that's very good. I've been taking my notes. I had switched over, so I
love it.
Which note I wanted to take. Yes, thank you so very much. Also, okay, so besides you is your beautiful wife. Go ahead. We're going to give you your questions so that they can know. But when I just want you to know, once we finish this, I want you guys to make sure that you have the information needed for my guests, so that my viewers, so that they can make sure they reach out to you. Okay.
Yes,
so we're going to go ahead with Miss Adrienne. Miss Adrienne, give us the definition of root work and what it do. And how open do someone need to be when they agree to unpack? Because we were talking about the root work, and you mentioned unpacking. So me, I went online and I just started Googling some stuff, and I started trying to figure out what it was so I could be better prepared for you, because I just like to be prepared for my guests. And what you do is very interesting, and I feel that they need to know this as well, because just like I said before, everyone is not straight and narrow. So go ahead.
Right. So Bishop Desmond Tutu said we need to stop just pulling people out of the river. We need to go upstream and find out why they're falling in. We love, as we just talked about, to throw a pill at something. Treat the symptom. Don't treat the root cause. And it's just it is counterproductive, and it's a really vicious cycle. So I went into a little bit of what I do as far as root work. It's very natural. It's not people look at it maybe witchcraft or voodoo. It's nothing like that. The earth is our mother. You know what I mean? And so we can use the resources that she's provided us to heal ourselves. I don't know. Sometimes you go into your backyard. I know I do. I'm a barefoot person. You go into your backyard and you stand on the ground and you ground yourself sometimes. So it's very important, and I'll speak about us culturally. We don't like to do things different. We like to do things the way our mother did them, the way our grandmother did them. And so you just really have to I ask my people, just be open, all the way open. It's not always easy to do, but nothing worth doing is. You just have to be open, have an open mind. For example, somebody may say, I want happiness in my home, or I want success in my business. That's very general. Be specific. You have to be specific and intentional and deliberate with what you say you want. So a person may say, I've had a young lady, I want success in my business. Well, what does success look like to you? And then I may charge a crystal, or I may make her a tincture, and I may give her some instructions on a specific day, do this. And it's not just the ritual of what you're doing. It's the real change comes on focusing what you hope to achieve, so energy and intentions are huge. And it's something that, I think that there are people who have tried to separate us from that, because there's so much power in your mind. Your mind has the ability to change the universe, to change worlds. So I try to help people. Like I said, I don't have the degrees, I don't have the letters, but I try to help people tap into what you have. You are powerful. You are pure light. You are pure energy. And you have the power to manifest the life that you desire because of your connection to a source of energy that predates the concept of time.
Come on, somebody.
That's it.
You know what? Come on, somebody. Okay, so let me tell you, the reason why I'm so in agreement to this, because people don't understand what we just went through 2 years, but we had to stay in the house at all times. And could not go out unless need be, right? So we had to uproot our whole entire life to make it fit just to stay in. And then we were going crazy in these walls because we did not know. And then the first time we went outside, how did we feel? That right there in itself, you felt like you could just go everywhere. You just needed to. You were free. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that in itself is an example of you being depressed and sitting down and not moving and not pursuing what you need to do because you feel a certain type of way. Just going outside barefooted and putting your foot on the ground and feeling everything and having center peace about yourself, letting things go in itself helps you.
100%.
Medication, you didn't have to go see nobody. You literally took yourself off the couch, walked outside, and was at one with nature.
Yep. You got some air.
You got some air.
Can I say something?
Yes, you can.
Okay. Miss Lauren talked about, helping people with their marriages. Okay. One thing that we do is go on the deck and communicate. We're sucking in energy. We're sucking in light, the air, the freeness of being just outside, number one. But then number two, we are exchanging energy between one another. Because if I'm going to sit down and say to myself, I'm mad at her because she did X, Y, Z, I got to figure out, number one, why she do it in the first place.
Come on, somebody.
And it's not going to be simply because she felt like it. We are very intentional in all of our actions because our body, it goes back to the anxiety thing. It goes back to our fight, flight, or freeze response to our bodies. Okay, if something is not right, guess what? The sympathetic response is going to ding, ring the bell. And next thing you know, it's going to be like, hey, something's not right. What am I going to do? But what happens when you don't know what to do?
That's it.
Come on.
I'm so happy that I did this show. I'm so glad that I was able to with all of you. I appreciate. Okay, tell everyone now where they can reach you guys for assistance, as well as you're gonna put them on in the page too as well. But just tell everybody now.
You want to go to our website is www.jacksonbehaviorhealth.com. And I must thank you for holding space, Miss Biscuit. Thank you for this.
Y'all did this. I just was sitting here.
The dialogue, though, needs to take place, and historically it has not. So thank you for holding spaces.
Yes. Well, I have all of my panelists. Oh, I'm sorry. I left somebody out. Who did I leave out? Oh, he came back. Okay. Yes. Okay. So I appreciate you guys so very much for coming on. You guys don't understand how great this show was. This is something that was most definitely needed. I appreciate you guys. Also, you guys, I would like everyone to know that all of the information that has been given will be on their website. If you want to talk to any of them, they are here to assist you with anything. If they can't help you, you see that they are ready to pass along and give information that needs be. Please make sure that you are just looking on and making sure that you get all the information that's there. I would like to thank every single one of you guys. I would like to thank all of my viewers for tuned in. They are applauding you guys. They love all the information. Just so beautiful. All right, you guys, this is it for my show. I am Miss Biscuit. Everyone can bring the tea, but not everyone has the biscuit with it. I will see you guys later.